It's been a wonderful day, and it is really my pleasure to moderate the final panel. The best is always saved till the last, and the juiciest topic of all, circularity in fashion. In fact, we're doing such a terrible job of it, with only 0.3% of the global fashion industry and textile industry actually being circular. And of all the raw materials that we put into this glorious industry, every year, 99% of them come from virgin materials. So we really have nothing to congratulate ourselves for. That said, I've got three incredible speakers joining me on this panel. You can see their titles: Joey from Lululemon, Anna from E.L.V. Denim, and Jessica from TAL. So we're going to kick off. I've got big, small brands and a manufacturer here. Overconsumption and overproduction is obviously really at the root cause of so many of the waste problems. I have a little hobby, which is when I go to conferences, I sit through the majority of the panels and I circle the big words that come up, and waste, 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 waste. It's been coming up all day. So let's get to the heart of sort of some of the greatest challenges, which is overproduction and overconsumption and indeed waste. So Joey, we're going to go straight to you to ask you about, of course, Lululemon has high production volumes. So what is your business doing to make circular fashion happen?
Circularity. Hello, now I'm on. Circularity and sustainability, for me, it's about caring for the people and the planet. So at Lululemon, how we would like to approach it is in a very holistic and diversified approach. So how I see it is we have a global strategy where we make a commitment to say that by 2030, we would like to make 90% of our products with at least 25% with preferred materials. So that's the commitment in a global term. So what can we do locally to make it relevant here? So in Hong Kong, we are testing many different circularity options. We want to offer to our guests different experiences with circularity. So starting from stage one, I would call it's a repair services. So for whatever reason, if your gear breaks down, you can bring it to our store for free and we'll repair it for you. So that's stage one, to extend product end of life firsthand. And then the second stage is, for whatever reason, your gear can no longer be used, you can bring it back to our store. This year from April to August, we tested that. So you bring it back to the store and we will take care of it for you. Then moving on to the third stage, where we partner with Redress and we offer to sell secondhand pre-loved items. So this is a chance for us to extend a second life for our gear. So that's how we connect a global strategy with local activation for a holistic approach.
That's great. I want to know more about that in a moment, but I'm going to go from, the analogy of David and Goliath, with David being, the huge one, and Goliath being, was it the other way around? It was the other way around. I need a coffee. So, the big to the small is obviously an analogy, and in the fashion industry, it's no different. So, Anna, you're our, our not startup, meaning 2020 founded sustainable fashion brand, award-winning. So first, tell us what your brand is, what you're wearing, and how many awards have you in fact won?
We're small but mighty.
Small but mighty, yeah.
So I launched E.L.V. Denim. Well, I started it in 2018 and launched on Net-a-Porter, which was quite it's a platform to start. And with the sole purpose of only using garments that already exist and reworking them and revaluing them and putting them back and creating a garment that it's been loved forever. The way we're able to do that is that I believe luxury is something that was designed to last and will last forever. So my goal as a circular designer is be able to take something that already exists and then value the material. I started with denim because, well, we all know denim is the biggest polluting garment in the world, so it seemed like a great place to start. But also it's an incredibly resilient material. It's designed to last as a workwear fabric. So already you've got a garment that is made of something that's going to last. And so then we create it. And the way I've restructured, I decided that I was going to change the way denim was manufactured for the last 80 years and restructure the whole manufacturing. So you can imagine how delighted people were when I started going to suppliers and saying, right, I want to take 1,000 garments that already exist, and then I want to change the way manufacturing is made, and I want to create a brand new creation of denim. And they were just like, no, can't do that. But it's really important for us to be able to create a garment that's going to last because of the material, going to last because of the design. We have strategic seams in all our jeans, which means they can evolve with you. They are adapted to go out and in. And also because they're made from upcycled garments, meaning they are one of a kind. Everybody has got their own gene that's unique to them. And then you want to look after it. So there's been lots of conversations about sentimentality, emotion, and I think by putting the design, the material, and the emotion together, you have something that you want to last forever.
Would you like Anna to stand up and give us a twirl? Yes, please. Thank you. So, but this is post-consumer.
This is all
one of a kind.
This is all post-consumer. And so as we've developed the brand, I had one gene, and that's kind of now we have about 8 genes. And each gene is designed to be able to be produced again and again, because I think the misconception is that upcycling cannot be scaled. It completely can. It's just a little bit hard work and takes a little bit more time. So this jean is actually made from 3 jeans, and then this shirt is made from 2 shirts, you can see at the back. But then it's not just enough to be able to put good parts of the jean together. I have got to have a solution of what do I make out of the bits that we're not using. So then we construct, we cut out panels, put those together, and then put our patterns on the top. And then we take smaller shreds and we crochet those into garments and into bags. And then our final shreds we turn into paper. So we have a complete, well, not a supply chain, a complete output for everything.
You can't ever ask a lady her age, and it's also very rude to ask someone how much money do you make, so I'm not going to do that. But I am going to say, since you founded the business year on year, I'm leading you to the answer, but are you growing? You're surviving? Are you thriving? Are you growing the business?
I think anyone that's in the room that's a small business knows that it's really tough. And also, I'm trying to create a revolution. I'm really trying to change the way that we manufacture, the whole thought process. And when you create a revolution, it's the path of most resistance. And I think that's really important. And the moment, the recycling that we're focusing on when we're looking at waste is just prolonging the problem that we're going to have. We're going to be, in 10 years, we're going to be talking about enough clothing to last the next 7 generations. But when you come to a revolution, it's okay for us to have this language, but I've got to make it relatable to the people, the manufacturers that we work with, because I can't come up with this idea and expect everyone to kind of be in a real tizzy when they're going, oh my God, but how do we do that? And it stops their revenue and it stops their production. I've got to make it easily understandable for them. I've also got to make it easily understandable for retailers. And so that's why it's really important that we make sure our product looks homogenized and it looks like it's all 10 of them on the shelf will look the same, even though they're not. And so only then can you make it a success. So it is really hard work, but we're growing. Our revenue is growing year on year, 20% year on year, which I think is really important, because if you expand massively, you can only fall down. And then our direct consumer is doubled year on year. So whether it's small increments, I think that is really important, and it shows that we're growing our team. And fashion is a people-centric and a material-centric industry. And that's really what we've got to focus on, that you can scale, you can get great profit, but not at the cost of planet and people.
And what I love about the first, from Joey and Anna's perspective, a big global brand, translating that strategy locally to Hong Kong, Macau, a sort of upstart, very revolutionary-based solution that you, Anna, are bringing to the market and to the industry. Jessica, coming to you at TAL, TAL has an annual production capacity of about 50 million garments or so. So putting you very much on the large scale. Thinking about circularity, thinking about overconsumption, overproduction, and thinking about the role of big businesses to influence big change. How do you see that for TAL in terms of sort of shifting the needle to accelerate circularity?
So our capacity, as you mentioned, is a lot, but that's spread out amongst many, many different consumers. Consumers for us are the brands. So spread out among the brands. And for us, we play a really unique role because we can bridge the supply chain and the retailers. And as Joey mentioned, there are a lot of things we can do at the manufacturing stage that can really help influence and bring about the circularity. So when Joey mentioned kind of materials, that's the early on stage at the design sourcing stage where we as a large manufacturer with our expertise and our manufacturing expertise and all that can help move the needle a little bit on that front, kind of suggest alternative options, things that perhaps, even consumers or brands may not be aware of. But because of our large, extensive supplier network, we're able to bring different suppliers kind of within their vision. And from that, they can perhaps really think about it. But at the end of the day, it really depends on the brands themselves and whether they're willing to move in that direction. Because as a manufacturer, we still need to see what the consumer, the brands are thinking of.
Yeah, so you can sort of recommend things, but you can bring a horse to water, apparently, that quote. I seem to be getting all my quotes wrong today, so I'm feeling really insecure about that. But basically, you can advise brands about opportunities around preferred and sustainable, exactly. But whether they take it, of course, that's not, you can't influence that. But what about, could you give us, everyone bangs on about the price of everything, and I know it's obviously the most important thing for the fashion industry, and I mean that, obviously. So therefore, what's the sort of price tolerance of materials that you do typically bring to your big customers?
I think currently, most people think of sustainable materials being the cost difference is really high. So when you think sustainable, you think lower quality materials but high pricing. But actually, that's not necessarily the case. Within cotton itself, there's a range of different types of cotton. And recently, we've been really pushing for regenerative cotton. And the price of that is, I would say, less than 5% really from virgin cotton. And, it's same quality, it's definitely more sustainable, and it's an easier move, I think, for brands to move in that direction, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is the most important to the brands.
So we're going to kind of focus a little bit on the business model of circularity. In this sort of introductory sort of conversation, we're sort of dipping into different circularity design, sourcing, and product kind of attributes, if you will. So now we're going to talk about circularity in terms of business models. And there's some data. I always find data juicy, particularly when it's got a dollar sign in front of it. So we're looking at the 4 business models of resale, rental, repair, and remaking, all of which have the ability to decouple growth, like revenue growth, from sort of virgin material reliance. So today, the market for resale, rental, repair, and remaking is around 3.5% of the global fashion market. But by 2030, this magic year where everything is happening, these 4 business models could in fact make up nearly 25% of the fashion market, which means that its value proposition and it's kind of representing the value of $700 billion USD annual opportunity. Apparently, I mean, I don't know if I believe it, because, I just don't know if it's true. So by 2030, we could be seeing 25% of the fashion industry's revenue coming from those 4 business models, which is great news, right? We should actually all be cartwheeling across the stage right now because, a lot of people get quite depressed when it comes to circularity because, I need my hands now. So 0.3% of the global textile industry is circular, right? And that's pathetic. And as I said in the intro, 99% of the materials that go into the fashion industry is virgin. The problem is that because we are growing production and consumption, we are growing the amount of raw materials that are virgin that we're putting in. We can never really grossly increase on that circularity because the scale of the virgin input is just so big. So we're in a losing battle, actually. I'm sorry to sort of like be the Debbie Downer up here on stage. However, the good news is really, really good that if indeed this is true, that 25% of the fashion industry's revenue will come from rental, resale, repair, and remaking, it means that all businesses should be paying attention to this. All startup businesses, investors, etc. So it is actually very, very good news. So with that in mind, we're going to go to you, Joey, because you mentioned a little bit about Lululemon's work within Hong Kong around resale and repair. So again, like you shouldn't ask a lady her age, I am going to be a bit nosy about money, and I don't know if you're going to tell us or not. Let's just see. I want to ask you what Lululemon's argument, or your own argument, is for the business opportunity in terms of revenue generation from these business models or from circularity. Can you make money?
You asked such a great question. Circularity. So how I think about it is it's not just about revenue generation. It's also about values, what we stand for. So with sustainability, my feeling is the guests, our customers, expect us to innovate in our product and also in our experiences that we provide. And we are not just here to sell black stretchy pants. We are here to create a positive impact for people and for planet. And we're not just saying it, we're actually walking the talk. And I believe that when we do the right things, our guests will come and support us and join us in this journey. So talking about numbers, I could share with you our repair program. Since launch, we have already repaired 5,000 pieces. So that's 5,000 pieces away from landfill. That's 5,000 pieces that we save the raw materials in producing new garments. So we're not only extending product end of life, but I could share more numbers. We're also looking at the engagement with our guests. So in a 30-day period, a repair guest versus a non-repair guest, the repair guest would engage with us 20% more. And that's substantial. So like I was saying, we're not just extending product end of life, we're also standing behind our product quality, our premium positioning, and we are building the trust with our guests. And if you ask me what would be a good way to encourage fellow brands in the fashion industry, I would say repair is the low-hanging fruit that you can consider, because most of you would already be offering alteration services, so you are already halfway there. You just have to work with your tailor, your vendors, to offer them with the right machine, right skill set, and also the trims and parts, and then you can offer repair as well, and you're good to go.
I can imagine that that's a lot easier in Hong Kong to implement a repair service compared with other markets that obviously Lululemon globally is operating, right? So we're in a perfect infrastructure, are we not? And so your customers actually get this for free. Is this right?
Repair is free.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's quite good, isn't it? Can I bring in you my shoes, or just
anytime, any day?
No, I mean that's fantastic. But I think so. Your 20% engagement is, so you're really building that customer loyalty, helping acquisition ultimately and retention. So Anna, are you excited about those juicy dollar signs that I said about, the growth in the fashion industry? 700 billion. I'm saying it again because I want you to really take it home with you. 700 billion opportunity by 2030. Is that good news?
Well, I think it allows us as an opportunity to go to businesses. I'm doing this because I don't know if there's businesses in the room, but by 2030, I think that's what we're saying, 2030, isn't it? So if we're believing that all businesses should be responsible for their own waste, we have EPR in Europe. I believe there's ESPR, which is slightly different, but everybody has to be responsible for everything they put out. And so you've got manufacturers, you've got brands that have all got excess inventory, faulty goods, customer returns, waste from the shop floor, waste from the manufacturing floor. And, E.L.V. Denim has proved past the point of, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it, that what we can do. And we think of all businesses taking responsibility, a bit like having a trims department, having a knitwear department, having the soft wovens, having denim departments. You have upcycling department, because the amount of the money is the companies are losing by having to deal with something that they consider a problem, but actually they consider it as a resource. And I'm pretty sure that if we looked at balance sheets or cash flows for the following year, we'd be able to equalise out what they would be spending in upcycling. And then we've also got to look at the future of the fashion industry, which are the students. And so many BAs, MAs are all about circular design. And I think we have to be very clear what the difference is between circularity and circular design. Circular design is from the start to the finish to the end use. And we do circular design because we're picking up the mistakes of the past and we're transforming it into the products of the future. But all the students that are coming out of universities now all have degrees where they're focusing on sustainable and circular design, but they leave university with their little hats and all their diplomas, and they're like, well, where are the jobs? There aren't any. There are none. So they end up having to compromise their values, working for a large corporation, hoping one day that they'll be part of something. So if all education is pushing us forward to that way, where are the jobs in the businesses? So I really believe that we have to focus on upcycling as an equal, if not more superior partner to recycling, for all the reasons that I mentioned in my last answer. I don't want to repeat myself.
That's great. One thing that really annoys me is the sort of just data that we just don't really know whether it's true or not, and particularly in terms of global production. We're in a stage where two different stats are flying around. One says 150 billion garments are produced every year, and the other one's 100 billion garments every year are produced.
There's not much difference, really, is there, when you come to think of it? And
but that's huge. 150 billion versus 100. I think that's quite a big difference.
I think 100 billion is still a lot to kind of deal with, and especially not all of them are being used, and we're not going to be able to avoid that because we're still going to produce. I think the elephant in the room, we're still producing, we're still consuming, but we have to have a solution for what we want to do with it afterwards. Yeah. And so I personally believe that we can go into any business, and it's not necessarily about partnerships, because collaborations, because you have to invest a bit more in that. But if E.L.V. Denim can go in and teach every single business how to do it themselves and leave them self-sustaining, then can you imagine this wonderful world where every business just deals with their own waste and creates this beautiful output that's all unique, all one of a kind.
I'm coming.
Yes. Please join me.
But of that global production, 20%, who knows, between 20 and 30%, and those in retail, you might know your own data, but between 20 to 30% of those clothes are never sold. I don't know if that's true, but that's what people say. So when it comes to manufacturing and the role that manufacturers like TAL can have towards contributing to this resale, rental, repair, and remaking these models. I mean, you're a supplier, so how can you influence those markets and benefit from it?
So as a manufacturer, I think there are two main ways, I would say, that we can support our customers in growing these business models. The first and fundamental one is we as the manufacturers, we make the products, and we have to ensure the consistent quality. And by producing quality products, I think that's really the basis of how these business models will really work. Repair, remake, rental, resale, it all boils down to you having a quality product. If you don't have the quality product, there's no growth, there's no business model. So for us as a manufacturer, I think that's one of our key responsibilities in how we can support these four business models, is ensuring that our manufacturing processes, our way of making the products that we manufacture live up to these standards to allow these business models to flourish and grow. The second, I think, not as obvious way that we can support these business models is together with upcoming legislation. As a manufacturer, we have a lot of the supply chain data, and by providing the accurate and transparency of these supply chain data, I think that's also key to how you can really grow these business models, because a lot of them will depend on the data that comes from supply chain.
So how does a large manufacturer help with all of these billions of unsold garments? So whether like for example, the remake part of it, we've got Anna in East London, upcycling post-consumer and scalable and, ready to, obviously she's growing year on year, etc. And you have, with your huge capacity, is this an opportunity for manufacturers that are set up, you're making clothes all day, why can't you remake them, and can you?
Honestly, I think at this stage, most manufacturers probably aren't set up that way to be able to remake products. I think the traditional current manufacturing processes and models in place are not catered towards remaking. But that doesn't mean that, it cannot happen. I think that that's where the world is going to, and that's an opportunity for manufacturers to start looking into this, working with their customers, especially customers that are repairing, that are growing these business models, to really unlock, innovative approaches to change that manufacturing model. Another thing I would say is with TAL, we also have one of our business units is a made-to-measure kind of factory, so it produces more customized products. So I think that perhaps in itself, the model that's based around would probably fit in more with these 4 growth models.
And what about your own defects at TAL? I mean, as a manufacturer, and any manufacturer, there are defects that arise. So do you know anything about what you're doing with that, or what you could do with that?
So with our defects, we have actually been collaborating and have been a long-term partner with Redress. And annually, we do host a challenge together with Redress, the RDA program finalists, and, challenge the finalists in that program to think about how they could be redesigning defective products. So we do give them defective product from our factory. They have 3 days, that, they work in teams, and then they redesign the garment, and then there's a small kind of runway show, and they talk about, how they redesigned the product. So I think from those types of early education to these designers, that really helps us also think about, what we can be doing with these defective garments as well.
Thank you. Right. So legislation, because it kind of comes up all the time, doesn't it? And I've got it's not really a secret, obviously, because I'm about to tell you, but I find legislation a bit boring. Is that okay to admit? Because, well, no one laughed. I was expecting you to all laugh. It really must be the end of the day. Does anyone find legislation riveting? Because, we've been talking about it for years. When's it going to happen again? But apparently BCG, they tell us that 35 pieces of sustainability-linked legislation is right round the corner. This piece of report came out last year, maybe late the previous year. So apparently by 2027, these 35 pieces of sustainability-linked legislation will be enforced, and they'll across all parts of fashion, from labour to environment and to recycling, etc. So we are going to start. Actually, I'm going to go to Jessica, because Jessica's an ex-lawyer, and I warned her that she was going to have to tell us all about legislation. So how is legislation changing? I mean, we could talk about it from global production, or you could talk about it from TAL's perspective, or your own knowledge. Legislation, over to you.
All right. I should disclaim this by saying that this is not legal advice, so please don't take this as legal advice. So to your question, I think, yes, there's a lot of legislation coming. Most of the legislation is EU related. So this is more applicable to EU brands or brands that are selling in EU, but also to suppliers that supply to customers that sell in EU. So probably most of Asian manufacturers.
So what is ESPR?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What is it?
ESPR. ESPR, full name is Eco-Design for Sustainable Products Regulation. It has been in effect since July 2024. What it entails is, I think most of you have probably heard about the digital product passport, prevention and destruction of unsold goods. That will be coming into place next year, July 2026. DPP is coming into place, actually, July 2026 as well. But the actual nitty-gritty of the ESPR, like what's going to be contained in the DPP, what does eco-design requirements mean, all those are still kind of in process, waiting for the working plan to come out, hopefully early 2026. And with that, I think manufacturers can then better be prepared for what it actually has to do. Right now, most manufacturers are probably taking a proactive approach in trying to prepare for it, looking at different other EU legislations that are similar in the space. But what actually we need to do is still not clear. So
yeah, and that's the boring bit, isn't it? We're not quite sure yet. But despite that, who should be the most alert right now in this room about ESPR?
As I say, the EU brands and suppliers who supply to them.
And suppliers. And by the way, of the EU, 70% of all imports into the EU come from APAC. So it's obviously very... By the way, I feel really bad for saying that I find it really boring. I just find it really, really confusing. So the next major date that people need to be aware of is going to be when things change. 26, okay. Joey, bring it to real life business from the brand side. Obviously, global brand, obviously massive footprint in Europe. How is this ESPR legislation and indeed legislation full stop influencing Lululemon?
I would say in general, we are really supportive of policies that would lift the whole industry up. I really like what Jessica shared is instead of being reactive and wait for the change to come, what I love is to be proactive so that we can be laser sharp focused in driving change ahead. So when I mentioned the 2030 goal that we are committed to, this gives us the power, the commitment to really accelerate in that direction. So in my role, what we can do is accelerate in that direction. So for example, in some of our iconic products, we're already using preferred materials like the t-shirt that I'm wearing, Swiftly, is already 40% recycled polyester. So for me, it's really about being proactive. At Lululemon, what I have learned is it's up to us. If it's not us, then who? If it's not now, then when? It's really up to us how far we want to go, how far we can dream. And what excites me the most is this kind of conversation where we can be together. I mean, Anna and I are already talking about some exciting collaborating.
Yeah, we're doing deals up here, actually.
Ideas and yes, and also partnering with Redress. I mean, this is the partnership and the collaboration that will drive the whole industry forward.
So driving the industry forward, I mean, that's what we really, really want. And I'm going to ask for a show of hands from you, audience. Like, are you really excited about legislation being something that's going to quickly accelerate circularity? So hands up if you're like really excited that this is going to be a major yes. Yeah, this is good news, yeah? Anyone else down here at the front? You were chatting, weren't you? You. Are you? Yeah. No, I'm teasing because I've got too many friends in the audience. Do you think, yeah, we'll move on. Okay, so Anna, legislation for you. Is it great news? Is it going to impact your business in the immediate short term for you, Anna?
Well, not really. I don't know. Not really, because we've been built where we were built based on being better. And so I welcome the legislation, and I hope it will separate those who are pretending to do it, are dipping their toe in. Lots of people start by upcycling, and then they realise that, well, then they think that the only way to carry on is by using a bit of virgin fibre here and a roll of fabric there. But you do not have to compromise. And I think that legislation has to be really tight, because I think lots of brands have already kind of come under fire or found themselves going down a slippery slope when they start using the word dead stock as being like the be-all and trying to get recognition by that. And I really hope that legislation is the push that also encourages large businesses to look to the younger innovators. You know, I'm not particularly young myself, but my business is young, and really sustainability is now the buzzword, whatever that word is compliance now. And it's all based on common sense innovation. really. It's common sense. You know if you're going to, not that I see it ever around here because everyone's incredibly tidy, but there's no waste putting things in the bin. Or when you've got textiles, don't put a bin in, put it in the textile recycling bin, because you know it's better for it to go there, but it just takes a little bit longer out of your day. And I think we'll go so fast. If we really thought about our decisions and we governed it by the moral compass that we try to live, we would be making much better decisions for the future.
On legislation, actually, I'm going to give Redress a big plug, because just today on our Instagram, we've actually released a video which is focused and targeted towards fashion designers, particularly emerging fashion designers, to help them understand ESPR. And we've just launched it a couple of hours ago. I saw, and TAL actually supported us. Jessica and I star in the video, if you want to have a look at it.
Congratulations.
But why I say that is, A, because, as I said, I find legislation very tricky. B, we at Redress will always jump on a lever that will make people sit up and pay attention. And a fantastic lever is obviously legislation. And so the reason that we put this video together, and it's a very easy video for emerging fashion designers to make them understand that they need to get into circular design, because of course it is the future. They need to understand it because they'll be going to get jobs where the companies will be mandated to do these things. So with the help of Jessica and TAL, we broke down 16 eco-design requirements and we bedded them into 4 design criteria, so to speak. And so any designers who want to get a real sort of elementary school legislation advice, watch our video. And again, no legal advice provided, no? Okay, right, we've got 9 minutes. I am going to go to Q&A in a moment. If you would like to vote for your favourite questions and or submit more, I'm going to be looking at the iPad in a minute. I want to ask the questions that you want to have answered, so do vote, because I will just pick your favourite questions. So, definitely, as you all know, you're in the sector. Life is difficult, it's extremely challenging. The times of the fashion industry right now are really challenging, and it calls upon kind of deep leadership and strong leadership. So my final kind of round of quick fire, a couple of motivational or not, about where your feelings are around your professional role in the fashion industry today. A couple of words of how you feel about your role.
Dare to dream, dare to challenge, and dare to act.
Really don't take no for an answer.
Hopeful, exciting, and a bit overwhelming.
Good. Thank you. Okay, so here we go on questions. So I'm just going to go, 3 votes for: does Lululemon think about the recyclability of their product in their design stage?
The answer is definitely. We look into many different kind of materials in our product innovation. An example of our partnership is with Samsara Eco. So this is where we try to develop a solution where we have textile to textile recycling. So that's how we really try to close the loop in circularity.
Do either of you want to comment on recyclability within different materials? Cut and sew, Vietnam? I mean, I know it's not the question, but just recyclability being such a major topic.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think I just want to mention that as a manufacturer, we're also looking into textile to textile recycling, and we're doing some pilot projects with some of our customers to see, how this works, whether it's feasible, whether it's scalable. And I think for the customers themselves, I think they perhaps are not aware that this is an option. So it's bringing that awareness to our customers as well.
Given got 4 votes, given fast fashion is a big part of the fashion industry, how do the speakers see circular fashion applies to fast fashion? So how does circularity apply to fast fashion? Yeah, go on.
Well, it might be a bit controversial, but I don't really think it does at the moment. We are, unfortunately, legitimizing the overproduction by creating poor quality of recycling. I mean, I think I like to analogize we're talking about, with like food and fashion. When it comes to recycling, you've got Michelin star restaurants, and then you've got fast food restaurants. And when it comes to recycling, there is no ability to know at what level or what quality the recycling is. You've given loads of complicated information and you're left none the wiser. But I'm pretty sure that most of it's down here. And so, I think that the fast fashion industry has got a lot to look towards, and maybe legislation will help that with the different grades they can do. But I believe they're going to have to incorporate upcycling within it. And it depends how much they want to take on board. It feels like a massive step for a fast fashion company to really embed upcycling into their business model, because recycling is a much quicker and unfortunately inferior currently solution. But I don't see why we can't think, yes, maybe it's a pie in the sky at the moment, but at some point they're really going to have to look into it.
Can I have someone help me technically, because I've lost the questions? Please, if someone can come down and help me, that would be great. I was just going to give a quick comment on fast fashion. I mean, I think I'm quite sort of accepting of where the market is, and that there are many people who want to buy fast fashion, however you want to define it. So to me, I accept fully that the fast fashion industry is very much here to stay. And I believe that there are many people who really enjoy to engage with that, for good or for bad. I know, of course, it creates a tremendous amount of waste. I actually went to Ghana a couple of months ago to have a look at it. It was really soul destroying. But at the same, so I guess my view is, let's not dream, because it's going to stay, if not grow. And so for me, therefore, and of course, I'm not going to get into jobs, although I don't know, Jessica, if you want to talk about job creation, because what I'm segueing to COVID, but essentially what we saw during COVID, as you know, is that we all kind of got into our pajamas in March 2020 for a couple of years, and we stopped buying clothes. And the people who were most marginalized were the female workers in the supply chain who lost their jobs. So it's not okay just to not buy clothes. And I'm a sustainable fashion advocate. I think we do need to buy clothes, says me. So therefore, thank you, we're creating an abundance, a disgusting amount of waste. Consumers overshop like crazy, and that in itself is pretty revolting. And those things are going to continue. So to me, the answer and the solution has to be to scale up recycling very, 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 very quickly, to get capital, money into recycling. And I know that that's a dreamy, dreamy situation to want to be in. But we know, apparently, according to Ellen MacArthur Foundation, that $500 billion USD is lost every year to the global economy due to the lack of recycling and clothing underutilization. So there's money, yeah.
Hello? I've been cut off. I think I've been cut off. But don't you think, though, the amount of clothes that are being recycled, if we're putting 1,000 garments in, we should get 1,000 garments out? But the reality is we're putting 1,000 garments in and we're getting 100,000 garments out because of all the new material that's been added in. And I think that's what's got to stop. I totally agree with you. But also lots of material, garments get recycled that don't need to.
Yes.
And I think that's also really important. And that's where resale, repair, upcycle, rework, that's where we come in. Yes, of course, things that are on their final shreds or have to be recycled, but then we have to make sure that the input matches the output and doesn't suddenly multiply for the sake of more being able to say, this is a recycled garment, because with the quantity being tiny.
Jessica, do you want to say anything? You okay? No, you're okay. Thank you. I am going to go to the next one down, which is very Hong Kong, how to persuade users in having clothing made in second-hand garments to mass market. Hygienic problems, or is it limited to environmental protectors? I'm sorry, I don't fully understand this question myself. How to persuade Hong Kong people to have second-hand clothing remade to the mass market. I think we'll go with that. That's all right. So how do we persuade people in Hong Kong to want to wear remade?
I guess that's directed at me, yeah.
Well,
it's, yeah. I mean,
yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's, you wash your clothes. I'm pretty sure that you get most bacteria out with a 60-degree wash, and that's what happens with all the post-consumer clothes we get, and then we rework it. I don't really think that it's just a bit of a mindset. And also, you've got to create something that looks really beautiful and elevated and elegant and desirable. You can create the most sustainable thing in the world, but it doesn't make you look good or feel good. Nobody is going to buy it. And that's why design is so important. Most people actually come to us because of the design, and then they find out about that it's upcycled.
Do they ask you, have you washed did
No,
you wash?
never.
They don't even ask.
No, I guess they assume that we've done that.
Yeah. Do you always, seriously?
Of course we do.
Okay,
We
just checking.
We have a very local economy, so everything is manufactured and produced within a 3-mile radius in London.
Okay.
We work with a very lovely chap called Korosh. He's on Clapton Road, if anybody wants to go and visit him, and he's the most adorable man, and he's been working with me for 6 years. We did have to extend to another clean laundrette as well, but that's where you meet so many people and so many. The laundrette is like a hub of community.
And you're supporting more jobs. Actually, maybe many of you in the room, but there was a Hong Kong trade delegation that went to London, and many people went to the E.L.V. Denim studio, so they would have maybe not met your laundry guy, but
no, they didn't make Korosh. But, this local economy can be transferred. I call it my global economy. It can be transferred to many places across the world. And so that's what I'm looking for partners to try and make that happen.
Joey, I want to ask you about the Hong Kong consumers' readiness to engage with, as the question asked, maybe remade secondhand, or just to, let's go with that, just to engage with buying repaired, remade secondhand.
So before we introduce that secondhand pop-up at PMQ, we actually worked with the University of Hong Kong UST MBA student to ask them what is the best way for us to launch something like this in Hong Kong. And from that survey and study, what we have learned is number one consideration is hygiene. So then it informs us that it has to be a physical location so that people can interact and try on the products. Number two is what you are referring to. It has to be value for money. It has to be good quality, good style at a good price. And the last element that's important for the consumer is has to be fun. So when we introduced the pop-up, we partnered up with the best partner that we can find, which is Redress. So we sorted the garments and we cleaned the garments and we presented it in a premium way. We also bring the Lululemon experience of community and fun. So we have a community run, we have a upcycling workshop, we also have coffee rave. So we want the community to experience and play with us. And at the end of the day, the result was overwhelmingly positive. We have so many good feedback and people are asking us, so what are you going to do next year? So I do feel that it's about understanding your guests, what they need, testing out different things, and that's the way to start.
Thank you all so very much. Thank you to my speakers. I hope that we've provided you some sort of insight into the opportunities, and also, of course, we know that there are so many challenges that need not even be reminded, but more the opportunities. And I suppose if I could share my couple of words, if I have two, I don't know. I think my final parting sort of sharing would be, how lucky are we to be in this industry today at a point of massive crisis and opportunity, and how lucky are we to contribute to a better future? That sounds really cheesy, but really to contribute at this point of time where the fashion industry is screaming for solutions and for brave leaders. So thank you all so very much. We'll hand back to yourself.